Welcome to the Restricted Handling Daily Intel Brief. This is what's been going on in Iran and the Middle East in the past 24 hours. The spotlight today is on a renewed push in the Middle East that could shape the outcome of the ongoing U.S.-Iran conflict. Israel and Lebanon agreed in Washington to implement a new ceasefire. This time, the agreement calls for Hezbollah to pause attacks and evacuate operatives south of the Litani River, while the Lebanese armed forces take exclusive control of pilot zones. That's the official line. The real-world wrinkle: Hezbollah was not at the table and has yet to publicly commit to the deal. This leaves the framework fragile and the potential for clashes high. Iran remains the central strategist behind the Lebanon peace. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi emphasized that Lebanon and the broader Iran conflict are interconnected, warning that any Israeli strike on Beirut could reopen full-scale hostilities. Tehran continues to leverage the Lebanese front to protect Hezbollah, maintain influence over southern Lebanon, and preserve its strategic position in the Strait of Hormuz. Today's reports confirm that Iranian officials are using Lebanon to buy time and maintain pressure on the U.S., while keeping their nuclear program negotiations on ice. President Trump has been clear. He wants to separate Lebanon from Iran negotiations because he sees them as distinct issues. Yet, in practice, he continues to press Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to strike Beirut. In a private phone call this week, he described Netanyahu as crazy over the timing of attacks in Lebanon, although he insisted their working relationship remains strong. This highlights a delicate balancing act. Trump is attempting to maintain diplomatic leverage while controlling Israel's operational choices, all under the scrutiny of an increasingly tense domestic political landscape. Netanyahu himself is feeling the pressure. Polls show Likud support in northern Israel has dropped sharply, with voters demanding a tougher stance against Hezbollah. Many northern voters, who face daily rocket and drone threats, want the group dismantled. Opposition figures are positioning themselves as the defenders of Israel's northern communities, forcing Netanyahu to navigate domestic politics while coordinating with Washington. Defense Minister Israel Katz has confirmed that Israeli forces will remain in the southern security zone for now, including Beaufort Castle, while continuing operations. Katz also stated that Israel retains U.S.-backed freedom of action to strike Beirut if communities are attacked, signaling that Israel's military flexibility remains intact, even under a ceasefire framework. Hezbollah, for its part, continues to test the agreement. On June 3rd, the group fired rockets into northern Israel for the first time since early June, following Israeli strikes near southern Lebanon and south of Beirut. They are also reportedly using first-person view drones with thermal cameras for nighttime attacks, increasing psychological pressure on Israeli troops and civilians. These actions serve as a clear demonstration of capability and a message to both Israel and Washington that Hezbollah remains a potent player in the theater, capable of shaping the negotiation space without directly being at the table. The Strait of Hormuz remains a strategic pressure point. Iran continues to assert control through the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, requiring ships to seek permission for passage. Oman is resisting U.S. pressure to sever ties with Tehran, emphasizing lawful management of the strait and freedom of navigation. Analysts warn that Iran's proposals for fees on transit could effectively resemble tolls, which international law does not permit. The United States continues to enforce a blockade and maintain surveillance, illustrating the delicate dance of coercion and deterrence in this narrow waterway. Energy markets have responded to the Lebanon ceasefire and the ongoing uncertainties in Hormuz. Brent crude fell slightly to $97 per barrel after the truce, reflecting cautious optimism that a broader U.S.-Iran deal could emerge soon. However, a growing number of tankers are reportedly moving through the Gulf while switching off tracking systems, keeping their positions opaque. Oil stored on tankers in the Gulf has been declining steadily, indicating that while flows are slowly resuming, the market remains unpredictable. Gulf states are actively expanding alternative export routes. Saudi Arabia is running its east-west pipeline at full capacity. The UAE is accelerating a second pipeline to Fujairah, and Iraq is exploring routes through Jordan and Syria. Oman is also leveraging its ports outside Hormuz for storage and export, collectively working to reduce Iran's ability to hold global energy flows hostage. Iran continues to consolidate power internally while signaling strategic intent externally. Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei warned against internal division, emphasizing unity and resilience among the public. Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf convened economic and industrial leaders to coordinate policy with China, indicating a focus on deepening ties with Beijing as an alternative support channel. Simultaneously, a group of Iranian parliamentarians urged the development of longer-range missile capabilities, signaling that even under international pressure, Iran aims to preserve strategic deterrence and regional leverage. Washington's domestic politics add another layer of complexity. The U.S. House passed a War Powers Resolution, 215 to 208, including 4 Republicans voting with Democrats, aiming to restrict President Trump's authority over the Iran conflict. While largely symbolic unless the Senate approves and a veto is overcome, it demonstrates growing congressional unease with the ongoing conflict, now stretching past 90 days. Reports indicate that Trump told aides he would consider resuming full-scale war if U.S. troops are killed, suggesting a strategy of tolerating smaller incidents while keeping a broader diplomatic pathway open. Today's update paints a picture of high-stakes interplay. The U.S. is attempting to convert a fragile Lebanon ceasefire into a bridge for a wider Iran deal. Tehran is using Lebanon, Hormuz, and the nuclear file as leverage to preserve influence and shape negotiations. Israel is balancing military pressure with diplomatic alignment under Washington's watch, while domestic politics push Netanyahu to maintain a hawkish posture. Gulf states are actively restructuring energy flows to mitigate Iran's control, creating a long-term shift in global oil logistics. All of this is unfolding under the shadow of potential escalation, tactical attacks, and economic consequences that ripple well beyond the region. Thanks for listening. If this episode was useful, take a second to leave a review or drop a comment. It makes a real difference in getting this in front of the right audience. We also publish a daily intel brief on Substack at restrictedhandling.substack.com with deeper coverage on Russia, China, Iran, the Middle East, and the DPRK. Have a great day.